Yeah. Welcome back to episode 29, part 2 of the Faith and Whatever podcast. I am your host, Josh_Carmen. You can find us on the tweets at faithandwhatever. We are on facebook.com/faithandwhatever. Also, we are on the Instagreasy at faithandwhatever. I am joined, as per usual, with the lovely Jamothy Yule at JamesYuile. Garrett is Garrett-less again this week, taking care of the wifey and the daughter, hanging out.
I think we're Garrett-less.
And, well, Garrett's also Garrett-less. So you can find him at TStudentLife on the Twitter. Chris is at Marion Ranch. You can find him there, where he probably tweets the most out of all of us.
Every day.
Nice. So we are in the pop topic for this week. And, James, I'm going to go ahead and let you kind of introduce us into what we're going to be talking about, so I take a break from the talking.
Well, Suicide Squad came out recently, and there's been a lot of conversation over it, and expectations. For some people, expectations met. For a lot of people, expectations not met. I actually liked it pretty well. I mean, I said it was good, not great. I think, Chris, you liked it a bit more than I did, right?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
I thought somebody did.
I did.
And
I saw it.
So I thought this was a good opportunity to talk about the DC cinematic universe, where it's at right now, as far as like it's in the public's mind, and what it's attempting to achieve, how it got here, and what hope for the future does it have, and where do we think it's going to go from here? Not so much like movie twists, but the actual business decisions and things like that. So, like I said, Suicide Squad recently came out. Before that was Batman v Superman, and before that, Man of Steel. And these are the only movies that play into this cinematic universe, right? So we're not talking about, let's say, the Nolan trilogy, which are good, very good DC movies, but
the only good DC movies, actually.
Right, but they're not DCCU,
Right.
So, and also on that point, February 20th, 2017, we're going to get the Lego Batman movie, which I am pretty excited about.
You know it's going to be dope.
Yeah, but it's not the DCCU.
Not Deku.
So we're not talking about that. So first of all, how it got here. First of all, we had Man of Steel that, again, in public perception, the general conversation about it was kind of maybe like at the first weekend, very excited, and then quickly kind of fell off, right? And
solidly meh.
Right. I loved it. I really loved it. I remember telling my dad that it was the perfect Superman movie.
I said it was the best Superman movie.
Easily the best Superman movie. But, I mean, at the same time, that's a low bar.
Yeah, I was going to say. Is that saying much?
But a lot of people, like, the internet conversation happening over that movie was very meh. A lot of people thought it was kind of a mess. They didn't like Zack Snyder's style. I did. I think so far, out of all the Zack Snyder movies, that's probably my favorite, although I've not seen Batman v Superman. That's the next one that came out. Again, it came out during a bad time for me. I was super busy, and then once I found out there was going to be an extended DVD or Blu-ray edition, I decided to wait for that. I actually own it. It's at my home. I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. But you recently watched that extended edition.
I did. I just watched it 2 days ago, actually.
Have you seen both versions?
No,
Okay.
only the extended, because I refused to watch the other one. And here's why.
Okay.
The story, let's see, how do I tell you these details without giving it away? The story is extremely intricate.
Well, let's say this right now. We're not going to try to have a spoiler conversation, but if they come up, they're going to come up. We're talking about the DCCU. Go ahead.
So, okay, well, then I'll just start doing spoilers. Essentially what happens, right, is they're weaving together this meta-narrative of characters that seem to me, right, to be pointing towards the Justice League. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, it's all
That's
headed
announced,
towards...
right?
They're trying to do Marvel's take, but in the opposite order. Get them all out their own film and then figure it out later.
Yeah, so in this version, we have 4 specific appearances from Justice League members. One of them, very briefly, with no lines. Obviously, 2 are Batman and Superman, and the other one with a bit part, but still pretty decent, still important in the second half of the movie. And this is 2 hours and 40-ish minutes long there, and so nothing in this movie is rushed. Nothing is spliced. Nothing feels like an overlay and like
in the extended version.
In the extended, nothing feels like Suicide Squad at all. It's very, very good dialogue. It's very how you would say not providential, but thought-provoking. And the character development, I think the Ben Affleck character of Batman is quite cynical. You can tell that 20 years in Gotham has taken its toll on him, and so he's quite untrusting and has a very misanthropic view.
That is a good portrayal of Batman then.
And
as far as those particular characteristics go, in the greater, when you have Batman in a room full of other superheroes, he is the misanthropic one. He is the untrusting one. He is the skeptic. Yeah. He's the guy that trusts nobody.
Right.
That's the role he plays in a big room full of heroes.
And I think Ben Affleck plays that role very well. I didn't like that part in Suicide Squad where he confronts Deadshot in the alley with his kid.
Oh, man, I thought that was good.
But that's how his parents died. Was when he was in an alley as a kid. Like, that seems like so over the line to me as for what Batman would do.
I wonder if they thought about that. Because you're right. That's a really good observation.
Yeah, that was told to me by a friend.
Would you say that would have been triggering?
Wow, that's triggering.
Yikes. Man, too soon.
Are there safe spaces for superheroes?
Questions we ask on this podcast. I don't know, man. I don't know. But, so, his parents are dead. So, anyhow, with that understanding, I like this film a lot. I thought it was the best movie of superhero stuff that I've seen this year.
Better than Deadpool?
Yeah. Deadpool was good, but it wasn't. Deadpool was good because of Ryan Reynolds, in the sense that, like,
that's who Deadpool is, pretty much.
No, but I mean, in the sense of the quips were funny. Ryan Reynolds plays that well.
I love Deadpool.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I also love Civil War, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up.
I haven't seen Civil War yet, so I gotta.
We're a weird puzzle piece here.
Yeah. And so, but I think this will be the best DC movie of the bunch, the extended version.
Okay.
I even think this will probably be the best one.
No,
I think they're going to get better than this.
I don't think there's been a lot of response to the extended version. I think just since the conversation left the internet, it was, it's no longer cool to talk about Batman v Superman because Suicide Squad's out. So I don't think the extended version got the sort of response. It's the chance to have public conversation with the internet.
And that's exactly why we're doing it on this podcast, is because we leave no stone unturned. And that's what makes us different.
Exactly why.
It kind of seems like a bit of a marketing mistake, doesn't it? To have the Batman v Superman coming out like basically as the same time as...
I just don't understand why they cut stuff at all.
Yeah, I mean...
There's a lot of reasons.
I mean, like Warner Brothers wants every movie to be less than like 2 hours.
Well, the rumors and the what people say about Suicide Squad particularly is that Warner Brothers had a heavy hand. In fact, apparently, as far as Suicide Squad goes, there was a director's cut version, meaning like edited the way the director wanted. Ayer is his name. And then Warner Brothers did their own cut of it.
Yeah.
And they showed it to to what do you call it when you have
test audiences,
and they ended up going with the Warner Brothers cut. So not even the director's version of that film is what we've seen. We probably have to wait for a Blu-ray release on that.
If they ever let it out.
Exactly.
So a lot of times in the studios don't want to look dumb if it comes out and everyone says, "Oh, look how much better this was."
Yeah.
The Warner Brothers really botched this version of Suicide Squad. It was not good.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but it just was not
Apparently, what they did was they made it much funnier. Apparently, the original version
wasn't even that
was
funny.
darker.
They tried to lighten it up a bit.
There's not like
it wasn't. It didn't even feel lighter. It just felt fluffier. And there's a big difference there. I mean,
That's
the
true.
fluff, it feels like it was filled with air, and there was no substantive understanding. At least Dark would have been redemptive there, because there's that natural element of seeing Deadshot want to be good for his dad, of seeing Harley Quinn being so whatever crazy there,
Yeah.
And then seeing Captain Kangaroo be awesome.
And I
Australian.
I don't know this for sure, but intuition tells me that the Joker and Harley Quinn scenes were much more like what the director wanted.
Yeah.
Those are the best scenes.
Yeah, for sure. They're so crazy, dude.
Yeah,
they're so weird.
I wish I could have had more Joker. Not everybody agrees with me on that one, but I wanted.
No,
more
I think
Joker
Jared
in that
Leto
movie.
agrees with you.
Yeah, I heard he wanted out. Yeah.
He said he's claiming that he basically got tricked in the role. That,
Right.
That the idea of the movie that he signed on to do and what actually came out are two very different.
Good
films.
job, Ryan Gosling, for turning that down and letting it go to lesser
Ryan
actors.
Gosling was given the role of or was offered the role of Joker.
Yeah, supposedly.
Anyway, moving on. So there's that lukewarm reception of Batman v Superman. Apparently, the extended edition might be much better.
So good.
And then Suicide Squad, same thing, right? Rinse, repeat. Again, I liked it a lot. I liked it well. I didn't like it a lot. I thought it was a good movie, not like a phenomenal movie. I thought it was. I loved the Joker and the Harley Quinn scenes particularly, and some of the other scenes as well. But after that first weekend of everybody seeming to say a lot of good things about it, it fell off the edge real fast, and there was a lot of negative rhetoric, a lot of people saying bad again. I think we're at a place right now. I think if we're going to talk about the current state of the DCCU, I think the challenge is that if they don't come out with a perfect 10 movie, nobody will give it more than a 6. That's what it feels like, right? That they have to spin out of this cycle of negative press and negative critique.
You're gonna have to hit it out of the park.
Yeah, it's gonna more than phenomenal, right? It's got to be just insanely good, and then that will hopefully give them some like.
Well, it's like they're on the opposite side of Marvel.
Right.
Marvel came out with some really great ones, and so when they have some average ones,
yeah,
like people kind of give it a pass.
Right, because they're like, well, it's been so good up until this
Yeah.
point, right? They have the exact opposite problem with Marvel. You're absolutely right. So what's coming up next is Wonder Woman, and we did sort of a reaction video, right? Where
Yeah, we talked about the trailer.
we talked about a lot of different trailers, and one of them was Wonder Woman. And Chris, you seem to like it a lot. I remember, Josh, did you like that trailer? I could not handle watching her in Wonder Woman gear do
did
trench
look-
warfare.
The what do you call that? I guess juxtaposition. it looked a little silly.
Yeah,
I don't know how I can even say that because I love superhero movies,
right,
but there was something about just the way it was all fit together
right,
that was just a bit too much.
right.
Thought
But-
it was perfect.
Up until then, though, in the trailer, I thought it was pretty good.
I love the rest of the trailer.
I think Wonder Woman is going to be, and this might just sound repetitive, but I think it's the truth. I think Wonder Woman is either going to win, it's going to be beloved, or completely burned to the ground.
Yeah, I think it'll be a middle of the road.
No, I think the internet is ready
I bet
to
it gets.
hate it.
I bet it gets a worse reaction than Ghostbusters.
I don't think that. Yeah,
The
I
plague
doubt
probably
that.
couldn't get a worse reaction than
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, but
And I think one of the things that's going to make or break that movie is the general female reaction to it. Right? I think that if like female critics and female internet pundits, you might call them, internet personalities, come out and say very positive things about it, that might help. Right? But I think that if Wonder Woman isn't very well presented in the movie, or at least perceived that way, and women don't get behind it, I think it's going to give all the reason for the rest of us to just scoff again. Does that make sense?
I
Totally.
think you're maybe giving them a little too much power because remember a lot of those women were all behind Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, not all of them.
I'm
I think
saying
there
I
was,
said a lot.
Yeah.
But I think the internet. I think the internet's gonna like what the internet likes, and to heck with the critics.
yeah.
And so we'll see what happens. And
Yeah.
I think it depends on how they market it too.
I think it's gonna be blah.
Bleh.
I think they're gonna have an awesome opportunity. Here's okay. First 40 minutes of the movie is gonna be up here, man, and then some weird
Villain.
denouement
Turn
thing
sideways
is
all of
gonna
a
happen.
sudden.
It's just gonna go, and then it's gonna level off at a solid 73.5%. There. I think it's gonna start off great.
Here's the thing
The
that
writing's gonna be terrible though.
Yeah.
The script writing will be awful. The scenes, the cutaways, and the action stuff will all be super tight. And the character of Wonder Woman will be strong.
Here's what I fear. I fear that the trailer they put out basically shows everything.
Oh, totally.
All the trailers seem to nowadays.
Well,
don't they?
Suicide Squad didn't. Well,
You're right. Suicide Squad didn't.
yeah,
But
I don't know
there-
about the very last trailer because I stopped watching Suicide Squad trailers, but I did watch the first two, maybe.
There seems to be a bad trend of that lately, though. The last
Yeah.
couple of years, where the trailer just gives away the entire movie.
Oh, it's so awful. I don't know why people. I don't know why you would do that. It ruins your own movie, right?
Yeah.
Like we talk about Ant-Man. I've vented on this one before that Ant-Man probably would have gotten better reviews, critical reviews, if they hadn't shown the entire movie, including the
There-
funniest lines
There is
in
the,
the trailer.
flip side to that coin, though, is if they don't show enough of the movie, like Suicide Squad, then I make the mistake of thinking it will actually be good, and I go see it. So I wish Suicide Squad would have showed a little bit more. So I
Give
could
me
just
the
been
cliff
like,
notes.
It's just, okay, I saw it, it's there. But yeah, you're totally right. Suicide Squad did a great job of not showing that, unfortunately. But
And the funny thing about that
it
is
piqued the
I
interest.
thought they had shown everything. I was convinced that, well, that's going to be most of the movie. And then there was so much
There
that
was.
I hadn't seen.
there was, and a lot of it was awful. But yeah, so man, they're always just going to be in the shadow of Marvel.
Yeah.
And here's what I don't understand ultimately is why are you doing so much stuff that you're not good at? Just stick to the TV shows. They rule television.
I think
DC
there's too many chefs in the kitchen.
As far as making the movies?
Well, as far as who's running DC.
Oh, okay.
You know, like there's no one person with like a singular vision for what all of DC should be.
Yeah.
And someone needs to just sit down and say, hey, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's all going to look like. Someone needs to really like there's no a solid leadership, it seems like.
Well, the movie slated to come after Wonder Woman is the first, the first Justice League movie. It comes out November 17th, 2017. And a small point I want to make before we get on to the more important points is I think what's good about this is it's surrounded by films.
Wait, is Doctor Strange coming out?
Yeah, but that's not DC.
Oh, okay.
It's surrounded by films that aren't the big players, right? So like there's going to be some Fox movie that's slated near then. Afterwards, there's going to be a Black Panther film, which might turn out to be great, but I don't think there's a lot of public expectation for it, at least not yet. And so there's not a lot of competition around that time for that movie, so that might give it a chance to not be compared as much. I think but again, I think the problem with the Justice League movie is it's not been earned yet, right? Marvel earned their Avengers movie by putting out good, some great, not any mediocre films that led up slowly.
Sans Iron Man 2.
I liked Iron Man 2, but even then, I mean...
Didn't we rank it as the worst Marvel movie of all time?
But that's not saying bad for me. But Marvel mostly earned Avengers,
totally.
right? By having a number of films that led up slowly to it, that warmed up popular audiences for it. And I don't think Justice League has been earned. And again, something I don't understand is I don't have a personal problem against Zack Snyder, but a lot of their flops have been Zack Snyder-led movies, and I don't know why they keep going with him if it's not working out for them. I frankly think Zack Snyder most of the time does a really good job. I didn't like the one with all the women. What was that?
You know who'd be better?
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. I didn't like Sucker Punch much, but I like the rest.
Jar Jar Abrams.
Jar Jar Abrams.
Be totally better.
Credit Jimmy with that line.
Zack Snyder. Yeah, Jimbo Jones.
But I don't
The Sith
know.
Lord director.
I think it's hard to say too, though, because there's been so much studio interference with all this DC stuff. So, when you see that the difference between Zack Snyder's cut of Batman v Superman and Warner Brothers is like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That means that there's some pretty serious competing ideologies of what to do with all of this.
Yeah. Also, the thing that Marvel did well leading up to Avengers is that Avengers, the movie itself, when you look at Avengers in a vacuum, it presents a wild Marvel universe, meaning like there's aliens, there's superpowers, there's all this stuff. But when the Marvel cinematic universe began, it was just Iron Man, a guy who's very talented who builds a suit. And then it was Thor that introduced aliens. It was Captain America who introduced the hidden history of humanity and the magic they've been tinkering with
Little by little,
right? And the super serum, right? And there's they introduced these different elements of what turned out to be a very wild universe, right? The thing is I look at the Justice League movie and the cast that they're going to dump on us all at once is Superman, who's been well introduced, Batman, who, if you want to borrow from Nolan, has been well introduced, Wonder Woman, who will have her time, and we can't say for that now, but then that leaves Aquaman, and that leaves Cyborg.
More like Awkward Man and Psydork.
Yeah, Cyborg and The Flash, which are three very wild... They bring a very wild element to the DC universe, and it's not been well explained up to this point.
They're
There's
making
no
the same
groundwork.
mistake they've made in every movie leading up to that.
Right.
They're trying to put too much, and they're not letting things develop. Marvel has lived by, whether or not they've done this intentionally, the reality is they've lived by one simple philosophy, is always leave them wanting more.
Right.
And they've just done that. They've done that in every single... They put out like 9 movies, something like that.
At least.
There, and every single one has been its own and stand alone, and it's been strong enough to stand alone. But these DC movies cannot stand on their own. You need them in succession with each other in order to link it together and say, oh, I like that, or in order
Yeah.
to give it its best shot in the light, right? And when you hit the nail on the head with that idea of like, I had no clue. I don't think anybody really had any clue that Iron Man was going to be the start of all of this. Right, when we went to go see Iron Man 1, did you have an idea that was going to develop?
No, not at all.
Because they hadn't said anything. It had never been done before. Like, and that's the other problem is Marvel got there first, right? Marvel,
Right.
And so that's a big kudos to them. Sorry, DC. And that's why I would say just stick with TV if you're DC. Bring these characters on. Dude, a TV show about Poseidon would be... would be Aquaman. A TV show about Poseidon would be rad.
I'd watch it.
But the TV show about Aquaman would be better, right? You can have him getting into crazy adventures with Krabby Patties and. But
you know the swimming computer graphics would be awful.
And yeah. So even if they did a DC version of TV of Cyborg, right? That would be so cool. There's so much that you can jam pack into a half-hour slot or an hour slot with that you don't have to worry about.
It seems like what they should have done was introduce some of this in their TV shows and make it so their TV shows universe was part of the movie
but none of their
universe.
stuff is tied together, which goes back to my idea that who's running the show.
Right.
Like, you had so much awesome stuff laid out.
Yeah.
You should have used it.
Right.
It's like so much squandered opportunity.
Now after that, we get a Flash movie, and I have very little to go on, but for some reason I'm actually excited about this one. I like the very little I've seen of Flash.
Barry Allen.
Right, Barry Allen. I like
Barry the Cyborg.
I like the CG they've used when they present him on camera. They get right all that electricity and all that kinetic energy around him.
Right.
There's something, and he's quippy. He's definitely the Spider-Man of the DCCU.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And I think that might actually turn out to be a pretty good movie, although I have very little to go on at this point. And I think that will. I think if this gets turned around, it gets turned around with the Flash.
Lives or dies with the Flash.
Yeah, I think
will live or die with him.
I think there'll be. I think even the good movies will be like lukewarm received, and I think when we finally get to the Flash, which will feel like kind of a fresh tale, and it'll be sort of the introduction of a interesting, more relatable, younger character who's not so serious. I think that's when DC might finally turn the DCCU around as far as public opinion goes, as far as internet opinion goes. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just
or it might be an epic fail movie.
Yeah,
I mean, that could happen too.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't think they haven't been bad. I just think, everything we've said, Marvel got there first. Marvel has a clear vision for what they want their universe to look like.
Right.
I enjoyed the DC movies, but they would be so much better if the Marvel ones weren't out there.
Right.
So,
well, I think we'll wrap it up there. I think we've put out some good thoughts, and I think we can stop the video. So do you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, so be sure to look for these movies as they come out. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our page. We'd love to connect with you more. You can email us at the show at faithandwhatever@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/faithandwhatever. At Twitter, we're at faith_in_whatever, and we'll put all the rest of the social media stuff below. I'm at Josh_Carmen. Garrett is at TStudentLife. James is at JamesYUILE, and Chris is at Marion Ranch Record. Thank you so much